Evelina's hands trembled as she wiped down the marble countertop in Adrian Cole's mansion. The pregnancy test hidden in her apron pocket felt heavier than the gold fixtures she polished daily. For 3 years, she had been invisible to him, just another piece of furniture in his extravagant world. But that one night 3 months ago had changed everything. Adrian sat in his leather chair, scrolling through stock reports with the same cold efficiency he applied to everything in life. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his suit immaculate, his expression unreadable. To the world, he was a business genius worth $50 million. To Evelina, he had been a moment of weakness that now grew inside her. "Mr. Cole," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the grandfather clock's ticking. He didn't look up. "What is it, Elena?" "I have a conference call in 10 minutes. Her name wasn't even Elena, but she had stopped correcting him years ago. Evelina took a shaky breath and placed the pregnancy test on his desk. The 2 pink lines seemed to glow under his expensive lamp. Adrian's eyes snapped up, first to the test, then to her face. His expression shifted from annoyance to disgust in seconds. "Are you trying to trap me?" "No, sir. I just thought you should know." He leaned back, a cruel smile spreading across his lips. "Know what? That you're carrying some other man's child and hoping to pin it on me?" He opened his desk drawer and pulled out his checkbook. "How much do you want to disappear?" Evelina's heart shattered. She had expected rejection, but not this level of cruelty. "It's yours, Mr. Cole. You know what happened that night." "I know nothing happened. Pack your things and get out of my house." The small apartment Evelina found was nothing like Adrian's mansion. Water stains marked the ceiling, and the heater barely worked, but it was hers. With her savings and a new job at a local diner, she scraped together enough to survive. Every night, she placed her hand on her growing belly and whispered promises to the child inside. The pregnancy was difficult. Morning sickness kept her weak for months, and the physical demands of waitressing while carrying a baby pushed her to her limits. Other employees whispered behind her back, creating stories about the mysterious father who never visited. Evelina endured their judgment in silence. Doctor's appointments came and went. Each ultrasound revealed a healthy baby boy, but Evelina always attended alone. She saved every picture, imagining a different world where the father might care. The loneliness was suffocating, but she refused to give up. Her landlord, Mrs. Patterson, became her only source of support. The elderly woman had raised 5 children as a single mother and recognized Evelina's strength. "That baby is lucky to have you," she would say, bringing homemade soup during Evelina's worst days. Meanwhile, Adrian continued his life as if nothing had happened. He hired a new maid within a week, never mentioning Evelina's name again. But late at night, when the mansion felt too quiet, memories of that evening crept into his thoughts. He pushed them away with another glass of whiskey, convincing himself he had made the right choice. By her 8th month, Evelina had everything ready. A second-hand crib, tiny clothes from thrift stores, and a fierce determination to give her son the love she had never received as a child. She might not have money or status, but she had something more powerful: unconditional love for the baby who would soon arrive. Labor began on a rainy Tuesday morning. Evelina's contractions started while she was serving breakfast to truckers at the diner. By noon, the pain was unbearable, and Mrs. Patterson rushed her to the hospital. The delivery room was sterile and cold, filled with strangers and scrubs who spoke in medical terms she barely understood. For 18 hours, Evelina fought to bring her son into the world. No one held her hand or whispered encouragement. She gripped the bed rails and pushed through pain that felt like her body was tearing apart. When the baby finally arrived, his first cry filled the room like a song. "It's a boy," the doctor announced, placing the tiny infant on Evelina's chest. Through her exhausted tears, she saw perfection. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and the most beautiful face she had ever seen. His skin was pale like porcelain, and when he opened his eyes for the first time, they were the deepest gray she had ever witnessed. 2 hours later, Adrian Cole walked into the hospital room. He wore his most expensive suit and carried himself with the arrogance of a man who owned the world. Evelina looked up in shock, her heart racing despite her exhaustion. I came to settle this once and for all, he said coldly, not even glancing at the baby in her arms. Would you like to meet your son? Evelina asked softly, hoping for a miracle. Adrian's laugh was harsh and bitter. My son? Look at yourself, Elena. Look at that child. Do you really think someone like me would father a baby with someone like you? He pulled out an envelope thick with cash. This is more than you deserve. Take it and never contact me again. Evelina stared at him, her heart breaking all over again. Please, just look at him. Just once. I don't need to look at what isn't mine. He dropped the envelope on her bedside table and walked toward the door. Goodbye, Elena. This is the last time we'll ever speak. The door slammed shut, leaving Evelina alone with her newborn son and a pain deeper than childbirth. Weeks passed in a blur of sleepless nights and endless worry. Evelina named her son Gabriel, believing he was a gift from above despite the circumstances of his birth. She struggled to balance caring for a newborn with working enough hours to pay rent. Gabriel was a quiet baby, but when he cried at night, Evelina would rock him by the window and sing lullabies until dawn. Adrian tried to forget about the hospital visit, but something nagged at him. His business partners noticed his distraction during meetings. He drank more, slept less, and found himself driving past the hospital at odd hours. Pride kept him from admitting he might have been wrong, but curiosity grew stronger each day. 1 month after Gabriel's birth, Adrian's resolve cracked. He told himself he was just confirming what he already knew, that the child wasn't his. He walked into the maternity ward wearing dark sunglasses and a baseball cap, hoping no one would recognize him. Through the nursery window, he saw Evelina holding Gabriel during feeding time. She looked tired but radiant, whispering words of love to the baby in her arms. Adrian moved closer, pretending to visit another family's child. That's when Gabriel turned his head. The baby's eyes opened slowly, and Adrian felt the world stop spinning. Those eyes, gray as storm clouds, exactly like his own, stared directly at him. It was like looking into a mirror that showed him 30 years in the past. The same eyes that looked back at him from his father's portraits, his grandfather's photographs, and every reflection he had ever seen. Adrian stumbled backward, his chest tight with panic and recognition. The baseball cap fell from his trembling hands. Other visitors stared as this well-dressed man began hyperventilating in the hospital hallway. Gabriel was his son, his own flesh and blood, carrying the Cole family's most distinctive feature. Every cruel word he had spoken to Evelina crashed over him like a tsunami of regret. He had abandoned his own child. Adrian spent 3 sleepless days pacing his empty mansion, replaying every moment of his cruelty. The marble floors echoed with his footsteps as he wrestled with guilt that no amount of money could ease. On the 4th night, he couldn't bear it anymore. He drove through a thunderstorm to Evelina's small apartment building. She answered the door with Gabriel in her arms, both of them looking fragile but strong. Her eyes showed no surprise, only exhaustion and weariness. I know, Adrian whispered, his voice breaking. I saw his eyes. He's mine. Evelina stepped aside to let him enter the tiny living space that somehow felt warmer than his mansion. Adrian approached the makeshift crib slowly, as if the baby might disappear. When Gabriel opened those unmistakable gray eyes, Adrian fell to his knees. I'm sorry, he sobbed, pressing his forehead against the crib's edge. I'm so sorry, son. Forgiveness didn't come quickly or easily. Evelina made it clear that his money meant nothing to her now. If he wanted to be Gabriel's father, he had to prove himself through actions, not wealth. Every evening after work, Adrian returned to their small apartment. He learned to change diapers, warm bottles, and rock Gabriel to sleep. The mighty businessman who commanded boardrooms now sat on a second-hand couch, reading bedtime stories to a baby who gradually learned to trust him. Gabriel's first smile was directed at Adrian during their 3rd week together, and it shattered every wall the millionaire had built around his heart. Months passed before Evelina allowed herself to believe Adrian's transformation was real. She watched him choose their son over business meetings, saw him trading his designer suits for practical clothes that could handle spit-up and baby food. When Gabriel took his first steps, both parents cried together. 3 years later, they were married in a small ceremony with Gabriel as their ring bearer. Adrian sold his cold mansion and bought a modest home where laughter replaced silence. He learned that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in bedtime kisses, family dinners, and the trust of those who loved him unconditionally. The man who once thought he owned the world discovered that being owned by love was infinitely more valuable.